Yeah. So I'm going to apologize for the unfortunate transition because I do care very deeply about this. This story is heartbreaking. But our next segment, where as we jump to our national stories and we look at our U.S. and international news through a Hoosier lens, I call this section "Who Cares?" because we're looking at these international and national stories and asking why should the average Hoosier give a damn. Let's start by looking at some of our, quick headlines from the week before we dig into our other stories. On Wednesday, a report from payroll processing firm ADP showed the economy added 42,000 private sector jobs in October, following a loss of jobs in September and expectations for more modest growth. A deeper look at the report showed all the gains coming from large companies, with small businesses shedding jobs, a potential warning sign as smaller firms are responsible for 3 out of every 4 jobs. Now, along those lines, the next day, a different report showed the economy lost jobs in October, with government and retail shedding the most jobs. The ongoing federal shutdown has delayed important jobs numbers from the federal government, but one thing we do have to go on is announced layoffs, which jumped 37% last month. Um, Also, midweek, President Trump hosted the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan at the White House in an effort to find non Chinese sources of valuable rare earth minerals. The same day, at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, Senate Republicans blocked a war powers resolution aimed at preventing President Trump from conducting strikes against Venezuela. The vote failed 49-51, with Rand Paul and Lisa Murkowski joining every Democrat in opposition, in addition to the illegal extrajudicial terror strikes being conducted on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. The U.S. military is also building up forces off the coast of Venezuela, sufficient to strike inside the oil-rich country. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine sponsored the resolution on Friday. Students, faculty, and staff at more than 100 college campuses staged a mass walkout, rallying against the Trump administration's attacks on higher education. Also, Friday, a federal judge smacked down the regime's plan to deploy National Guard troops to Portland, Oregon, granting the city and state a permanent injunction against the feds. Karen Immerget, a Trump appointee, allowed Trump to keep the Guard federalized, but found that the administration violated the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, stating that facts on the ground did not warrant the deployment. And finally, on Friday, Sean Dunn, a former DOJ employee who was arrested for throwing a sub sandwich at a federal agent during Trump's law enforcement surge in the nation's capital, was found not guilty of misdemeanor assault. Originally, U.S. Attorney Janine Slap the Bag Pirro sought a felony, but a grand jury declined the charges. The vindictive former Fox News personality pressed forward with the lesser charges, which Dunn beat in this ruling. Leslie, what stands out there to you this week?
Wow, there's so much there. But I mean, lastly, with the sandwich thing, it is just so ridiculous. The sandwich did not even become unwrapped, and so they had to tell lies. Oh, it exploded all over me, and I
I could
suffered
smell the
great.
mustard and the onions.
It is just ridiculous, right? Like, you do terrible things, somebody throws a sandwich at you, and you're going to press charges. I mean, what is this world coming to? And what a waste of taxpayer dollars holding a trial instead of just accepting that you acted like a jerk and something happened to you. Yeah, I don't know. I just consider it just, it's a whole circus, not nothing that that is helping our country. I think that the layoffs are deeply concerning, and this GOP that has, always been running on how good they are at business is really showing that that's just simply not true, right?
Yeah. They have this unearned reputation, and boy, it's hard to shake because for some reason people still think, oh, Republicans are the party of business, and yet we only have decades of information to show us that's not the case at this point. Ross, what of those headlines stands out to you this week?
Yeah, I think just to touch on the sandwich case, it goes back to what we were talking about before about having people in charge that don't know what they're doing. Janine Pirro has no business being a United States attorney, and the people at the top of the Justice Department wouldn't know a good case from a bad case because they weren't put there because they are litigators. They're put there because they are Trump loyalists. And again and again and again, we see people unqualified to do their jobs, for sure. I think also that, not passing a resolution that says the president of the United States can't unilaterally attack another country, um, you would think,
That should
would
be the
get more.
standing law. We shouldn't have to pass a resolution,
Yeah,
right?
should maybe just say follow the law. I mean, the 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 extrajudicial killing of people, I don't care if they're drug traffickers or not. Everybody in the deserves due process. Everybody deserves due process. I don't care if you are the worst person in the world, you deserve due process. And the problem is, it should be obvious that if you don't have due process, then somebody with a gun is going to decide whether or not you are worthy of due process or not, or whether you are worthy of living or dying or not. So the idea that some guy on a boat is going to decide that those guys are criminals who deserve to die, or that somebody in the White House is going to say, just, shoot first, ask questions later. It is fascist, and it is un-American. It is the most un-American thing, um, to ignore and mock due process in such a way. They're all war criminals, in my opinion, for doing those things, and I hope they stand trial for it someday.